Before we begin, thank you very much to, and I love this, thank you very much to My Old Intro for joining my Patreon campaign. Even my old intro does not want me doing my old intro anymore. So thank you for that. Thank you for being cheeky. That's kind of fun. So I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, so we're starting off May in an interesting way. So thank you very much for that. Quick shout out, quick plug for you. So recently I did a spot over on the Moonbase 2 podcast talking about Transformers marketing, and a topic that certainly didn't get derailed into Ninja Turtles over and over. I promise it didn't. If you want to hear me talking with someone besides the regular WTF host, then I'll leave a comment, or I'll leave the link in the description below. And you can go check it out for yourself. We had a really good time. It's a fun podcast. Please go listen to it. I'm very happy with how it came out. All right. So we are here for my April Q&A. So all the questions that came in during the month of April. And we're going to start straight in with something that's follow-up from last time. Since we did get a Street Fighter series of figures, are there any games you'd want to cross over with Transformers? I mean, tons of them. I feel like Pokemon is one of the most obvious, thanks to a lot of the recent Kingdom figures, making me think, oh, that'd be a good Pokemon. Oh, they could do that. What else? I was trying to think of other like big franchise things, like things that make sense, like I can't do Twisted Metal. It's a little too violent for a kid's toy line. But I mean, there's a lot out there. Halo would work really well. Like I personally would love them to do something with Mega Man. Mega Man isn't really known for vehicles, so it'd have to be like Mega Man transforming into something, which I would go for. I would love that too. Those are my easy answers though. I do love the Monster Hunter idea. If they give me a transforming Brachydios, yes. All right, let's see. Okay, I'm scrolling through here. There's a lot of comments too, so I have to scroll through those and make sure there isn't a question in those. Describe how you would handle adding the 13 primes into a story. It's been weird how they handle the 13 primes. Sometimes they're just this like kind of like mysterious thing. Sometimes only one or two appear in a series. With how obsessed Transformers shows have been in the past with MacGuffins, I would love to see just like a hunt for the 13 primes, to find just relics that are all that's left of some, or to find any that are still surviving. Alpha Trion, hi. And ones that would be more, more Autobot aligned, obviously like Prima and Vector Prime, and ones that would be more Decepticon aligned, like Megatronus, or even, which one was it? The Combiner one. I can't remember the name because they kept changing the name. Nexus Prime. That would be another one that I think that, Decepticons are known for combiners more than Autobots. I think that would make sense if they like warring to basically find them all. I think I would like that. There's also another one about large spaceships was theirs. I could see them. I think that'd all be spaceships of some kind because they don't have any need for any other vehicles. Work with one of several of the existing animators or artists on YouTube to turn your stories into cartoons. Who would you voice? Who do you want to work with and why? I don't genuinely know. I'm so like not in the know about that side of YouTube. Generally, if someone knows Transformers and is high quality as far as their animations go, yeah, I'd love to come up with stories and collaborate on something. But that's a them question, not me. What obscure character would like to see come back for a show, comic, etc.? What personal quirks would you like for them to focus on? Thunderblast is fine. You'd really have to rework Thunderblast because she's just designed to be like anime, like anime lovey-dovey kind of girl with some cheesecake on the side. My go-to answer is usually Punch Counterpunch. I really think that's like such a unique character that they never really get to explore. As far as being like a double agent for the Autobots, which is generally something frowned upon. I think it'd lead to some really interesting scenarios. They never really work it though. If Hasbro made Protoform X, what type of class do you want him in? So here's the thing. I would actually want Rampage as like a more complex leader toy. So he can work in his tank mode really well. We have the budget for that. If we're doing Protoform X, I would think something more akin to a Voyager. Like, he needs to be big. Like, I'm thinking like the new War for Cybertron Optimus big. Like, just like a big mass of plastic. That would work. I don't know what he turned into. Probably just another spaceship or tank. But yeah, I would go like Voyager class. Nothing huge, because there's way bigger characters in Beast Wars. Which Transformers animation model do you think does the most cheating? A lot. There's a lot to do the most cheating. Now, in context, in story, maybe not so much. Obviously, animation version of G1 Ironhide is way different than the toy, but but it looks like it would work. And obviously, with the Master Beast and newer figures, we know that transformation scheme works. So it's technically not cheating. Cheating for me is like Dinobots, where like literally they just vanish into their, where basically the parts are just vanished into them, and like the robot appears out of it. Pretty much every Beast Machine's transformation works that way, by the way. So if you want a series that cheats, it's that one. It's that one a lot. If you're tasked to conceptualize the next mainline Transformers toy series, what would you name it, and what would be the main focus theme of that series? So I pitched an idea of doing Transformers as kind of a road trip, with a new cast of characters that saw the original cast, the G1. It's kind of like this legacy thing, these like legends that they're chasing. I still would go with that, because it also would let you incorporate the old characters into the toy line. It would just focus on a brand new set of characters. I meant to pick up on that and like do like continued adventures of them, but I never really got around to it. Maybe we'll do that again, or maybe I'll pitch a new idea. So, let's see. Now the more GoBots characters being added to Transformers canon, at least getting figures, are there any that haven't been you would like to see in the future? I mean, a lot of them. I'd like to see Smallfoot, if only because we now have a basis for Smallfoot, which is RID 2015 Strong Arm. I would love to see Strong Arm return, and I would think like Smallfoot would be a perfect choice to make that jump over. I mean, there's plenty of GoBots I would like to see. Loco, I'd like to see just like a standalone locomotive transformer instead of a triple changer Astro Train. Psykill's obvious. We're always trying to think of ways to get Psykill and Leader 1 in there. The rights to them are just so weird that they have to be extremely careful about what they do. Like, even the fact that Velocitron Crasher is an Indy car and not like the Le Mans style like dome racer is a big deal for avoiding breaking any copyright or any legal action from Bandai. With all the great new car molds, I feel a good Nightbeat has to finally be done. Our top Autobot detective needs more love. What's your opinion of the character and the toys? Is the new figure justified? I would absolutely agree with that. Now, I would want a Nightbeat to be a completely new mold, because the closest we have right now is Minerva, and that's definitely designed to be Minerva, not Nightbeat. But yeah, like Nightbeat as the Autobot detective, I think is a really cool character. And the last time we got a toy for him was like Thrilling 30, and it was a redeco, it was like repaint of the current IDW Bumblebee at the time, and it just didn't work. It didn't look like the character. It didn't suit him. I didn't like it. I'd love to see a new take on it though. Nightbeat is way underappreciated. What do you think about giving Transformer artists their own subline? I would think that would be a cool direction to go for like comic books, and especially for like studio series to go to like art studio style, and just do like a subline of studio series, which is just focused on particular like artists. Now you'd still have to focus on like really commonly known designs like IDW Megatron, for instance, or because you couldn't just let Don Figueroa, good as he is, just go nuts and go make this toy of my design. You could, because it'd still make a cool toy and it'd still be based on existing character. But yeah, I think that's best for like when studio series runs completely out of stuff to do and they still have to keep it going. I wouldn't mind like a designer series like that. Let's see. Of all concepts, characters, general stories introduced in IDW, what would you want to see adapted into a show or film? I would love a show for the Lost Light. Like, just the idea of Transformers, that's like a misfit band of Transformers that aren't even all Autobot or Decepticon, just traveling the universe, getting into misadventures, finding, like, universe threats along the way just to put down. I mean, it's a great space opera story. Even if you aren't a Transformer person, Lost Light and The More Than Meets the Eye run before it is such a good story. Just to see Transformers and characters going on space adventures together. I would love to see that in animation in some way, shape, or form. If we're going to go with characters, Nautica. I'd be big on bringing in more intelligent female characters. Also, I mean, I could go off. Like, Anode and Lug, I really liked. I really liked Rung. Like, IDW 1.0 had so many strong characters. I would love to see get more time in the spotlight. Let's see. Since you said Computron is your favorite combiner, how would you write his origin if he weren't created by Grimlock in the first place back in G1? See, I kind of like the origin story for the Technobots. You know, like, they're built of Unicron technically, and just given this like artificial intelligence from Grimlock, I think actually works well for them story wise. If I was going to give them a different origin, it'd probably be like more spacefaring Autobot style, because they're all like futuristic vehicles. They're not trying to be like robots in disguise. So they'd definitely be Cybertronian. I definitely want them to have adventures outside, because I want them to have gained knowledge by traveling the universe and finding like these super advanced civilizations. You know, like if they were like a band of scientists that all went to different worlds in order to gain new knowledge, and they came back with like literally like, like eons. Remember how old Transformers are? Eons worth of advanced technology and information from other species and planets. That would be cool. And it's to suddenly rejoin the war on Cybertron as this super smart combiner. So like space adventurers. I guess that's a theme right now. It's like space adventuring is like a really cool idea. What do you think about Optimus always looking for a peaceful way, but always the first to transform with his weapon drawn? Now, here's the thing. He is the first one with his weapon drawn because he is still the frontline general of the Autobots. He is still the first one to come to defense. And, so in a war situation, yes, weaponry means defense. He does always look for a more peaceful solution, and sometimes he finds it. He found one in Earthspark. He actually swayed Megatron over. That's who Optimus Prime is. And it's why I don't like the movie depiction of Optimus, because he never looks for a peaceful alternative. He's just shoot first and then clean up the bodies and never ask later. I'm not into that kind of hero. I like a hero who's brave enough to try peace, but know that there is a time where peace will not work. But he's always brave enough to keep trying. That's an Optimus Prime to me. Would you open to a video on whether or not Masterpiece is really needed these days as a line, and how you'd rework it to truly stand out? I think Masterpiece still works as far as a line, because you're always going to have these collectors who want the highest end Transformer possible, and they want the like perfect version. Well, I think what we get at retail is already really, really good and like fantastic, like representations of the characters from the old cartoons. There's always going to be a desire for Masterpiece to do it even better. What's really holding back Masterpiece right now is they're out of main like important characters, unless they go into other continuities and generations. But also, the QC on Masterpiece has been so terrible lately. Every time I look into the train bots, I see more and more breakage. I see more and more problems with the engineering. It just seems like Masterpiece, whether it's on a factory level or an engineering level, is just really dropping the ball lately. If anything's holding them back, it's really just that. Otherwise, they do really good work. It's just not very well made work lately. What do you think for the aviation combiner? Manticore, Griffin, Phoenix, Basilisk, Agna, or Anga. I'm actually not familiar with that one. No, like I would love to have like a mythical creature combiner. I love mythical creatures, so that would absolutely be like my jam. I would love that. If you were given a corporate mandate to have a line-wide gimmick to a Transformers series integrated into the toys, what would the gimmicks be? So I like when a line-wide gimmick adds to everyone, where like the more you buy, the more play pattern you have at your disposal. I remember Cyberverse did a line where it was smaller figures that came with like little drone vehicles, and the vehicles could break apart and combine onto the larger robot in order to form armor. And sometimes the armor was really weird, and sometimes it was really cool though. And I would love a line where all of that was interchangeable. So you had these same ports on the top of the chest, the side of the shoulder, the side of the forearm, where armor could plug in across any figure. So anyone's armor could go onto anyone else. So if you have Starscream, coming with, I mean, he came with like a bulldozer. Like, it wasn't really suited for Starscream. But if you move that over to like an Ironhide style character instead, okay, now we're actually talking something. So you could get away with those mismatches for variety's sake on a toy shelf, but if you have both, like say if Ironhide came with a jet, that you could customize your Starscream and jet mode into like some super crazy 4-wing jet, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. And then when you get to larger figures, you don't, you keep the normal toys at the same size. We're talking like normal, like deluxe size at this point. Maybe like Cyberverse Earthspark Deluxe. So we still have the budget for the little figure. But then you're talking about ones that are big enough for the Transformer to ride in, instead of just being like a sidekick drone. Or and then like form like full body armor or like exosuit style combination. And again, universal connection point so anyone can use it. That's kind of where like I would like to see a gimmick line go. All right, given how sideways are the same character traveling dimensions, which design is your favorite? What would you have him transform into should he return? So I was a little bit incorrect. They've retconned Sideways since then to be individual across every universe. So it's not all one guy, but I love that original canon idea that it's all just the same Sideways everywhere. I would absolutely like to see, like if he comes back, I love the Cybertron version. I love that Cybertron. I love the Cybertron look, the face with like the big visor face. I would love to see that done as like a stealth bomber. We were talking about like what Transformer is known as a stealth bomber, and really none. There are ones who use it, but it's not like a vehicle mode where you go, oh, it's that Transformer, the way you would a semi-truck or a Ferrari, etc. I would love to see that. I would love to see Sideways come back with like an Earth mode and take that as his. See, you know how Transformers will reissue old figures with new decos or reissue them entirely? What if Power Rangers or other Toku series did that? So, well, if we're talking Power Rangers, they can't, because those are all Bandai toys, and Hasbro would not have access to those. So you can't do that. And as far as other Toku series, they basically already do that. Kamen Rider does, they do like super best versions, which have a lot of deco changes to be more screen accurate or have more sound effects, or they do complete selection. So I think that's kind of already met as far as a lot of those go. Like I don't really see like a need to go any farther than that. What are your thoughts on My Little Pony and the potential / existing crossovers Transformers had with it? So I would never call myself a brony, but it's one of those shows that I actually did unironically enjoy when I just needed something super upbeat to watch. Where I can watch it and go, this is not going to depress me in any way, shape, or form. It was a comfy show in that sense. We're talking like Friendship is Magic. We're not talking like I don't know any of the current pony. I don't even know if there is a current pony. But the existing crossovers with Transformers, I think the the experiment with trying to make My Little Ponies done up as Transformer characters, I think that was a little forced. Wasn't really a fan of how those came out. But like the crossover stuff we did with like the comic books, I thought there was extremely clever writing in there. The one I always point out is Fluttershy and Soundwave, based on the fact that Soundwave's cassettes just seem like pets to her. So to treat them nicely and to treat them more compassionately, like she is in character to do, is actually a clever way of fighting off Soundwave. It's fun. Like that's a really smart idea. So like I love the creativity that they had with those crossovers. They're actually, unironically, some really good books. Why do you think RID 2001 gets treated like the red-headed stepchild of Transformers by Hasbro? I don't like that terminology. We'll call it the black sheep of Transformers. How about that? And really, it's just because it was never a line that was meant to do anything. It was meant to just be a holdover until Armada was ready to go, basically just to substitute in what would have been Transtech. So it was never really seen as like a serious line. It was just to pass the time. It was just a placeholder. I think, I do think it's because, like, the toy line itself, while it did better than Beast Machines, is not really known as a big seller. I can remember a point where Hasbro flat out stated that, like, as much as fans love the Rail Racer team, Hasbro said they sold so badly they would never do those molds or characters again. And that's just because bullet trains don't appeal to kids. Because kids in America don't know what a bullet train is. You know, they barely know what trains are these days. So I would say it's largely because Skybite, like, when you talk about Scourge and Skybite, let's be honest here. Scourge does not return because he was a great character. Because he really was just evil Optimus Prime in the end. He was just another kind of just like mean, bad guy with a mean streak and a lust for power. We've seen that 100 times. It's the color scheme. We love Scourge for the color scheme and the idea of an evil Optimus Prime. That's why we get away with calling him Nemesis Prime more often now than his original name, aside from the fact that his original name is a G1 name. So really, it's the deco of Scourge that survived. The only real character that survived is Skybite, and that's because the show's dubbing made him so much more engaging and more characterful and fun as a character. I think that's the only reason, because he stood out so much for just being unique and over the top. Yeah, I would like to see, like, Autobot Brothers come back. I wouldn't even mind, like, a set of Spy Changers, maybe, at, like, deluxe size. If we haven't already used the Sideswipe mold enough as it is. But I just don't think it did well as a series for them to really go back and go, we need to do this again. What is your opinion of Armada's design aesthetic? In media, we know how you feel about the toys. Thank you. Design-wise, I did like Armada. I do think there's some ambitious designs on Armada. I like that they kept some more futuristic tech and still familiar style vehicles. And I like that it was trying to avoid, like, a lot of typical Transformer stuff as far as how the characters look. You know, Hotshot was going for a very different look from most Autobot cars that we had seen in the past. You know, and that I can actually appreciate the attempt. You know, there is actual design aesthetic to Hotshot that I can actually enjoy because it's different. You know, and I'd say the same for designs like Demolishor. I really like the way Demolishor looks. You know, and like we've already mentioned Tidal Wave. I did a whole video on Tidal Wave. Aesthetically, I thought it went really, really well. I just don't think the toys translated it well because the gimmicks were so intrusive on them. What's another video game character you want to see as Transformer collab? We already talked about this. Yeah, so we kind of mentioned that one already. If you had to start your own Transformer series and you were only allowed to use pre-existing toys as potential characters, what would the core cast be for each faction? This is another one of those super long questions that would take me a long time to think out and explain. This is essentially what you're talking about is a BotCon set. You're asking me to detail an entire BotCon set to take existing toys and cast them as new characters for a whole series. You really couldn't get away with that, but there's plenty of options. There's plenty of options. You know, you talk about using Ultra Magnus to use the Galaxy Force Optimus Prime mold painted white. I wouldn't do that. I don't think that would work for me, especially because, like, you wouldn't be able to get the Ultra Magnus blue in the robot mode because it's the white cab section. I would do that as Nova Prime and make it the villain of a Transformer series. That's what I would do with the Galaxy Force Optimus. How would you handle a Gundam Transformers crossover? You know, a year ago, I would say this was absolutely impossible and wouldn't even entertain the idea. Today, we know that Takara and Bandai actually entered a licensing agreement to do a few crossover toys. Nothing Transformer based, but it led us to like wild possibilities. And these days we have Bandai and Mattel, or Hasbro and Mattel, working together on a few cross-branded things. So now it's far more possible, I think. Companies are a little bit more willing to play ball. I think the most obvious thing would be to do like the original RX-78-2 Gundam as the white base. Same color scheme, same series. They are iconic of each other. That one is very obvious. The ones that I would love to see would be like, there's been Gundams with alt modes, with vehicle modes. You know, Wing Gundam had a flight mode. I'd love to see Transformers do a new take on something like the Wing Gundam, but give it a proper jet mode to transform into. Something akin to what it did, but like an actual full, genuine transformation and much more like sturdy and stylish jet for it to transform into. That's where my brain would go as far as like, as far as crossovers. Talk about story, they wouldn't do anything story. I think the franchise would maybe a little bit too different for that. Model kits, Kotobukiya, Flame Toys handles all the model kits for Transformers pretty well. I don't think they need Bandai's model kit stuff. Brief thoughts on Don Brothers. Honestly, I fell off of Don Brothers. I'm way behind on Kamen Rider Geats. Like, I hate to say, it's one reason why there aren't many Kamen Rider videos on the channel lately. I just don't have the time to catch up on it and watch, which is disappointing to me because I loved Geats from what I saw, and now I'm like 15 episodes behind. If I can find some time to sit aside and get caught up, I'd love to talk about that show again. If you could fix Armada, how would you go about it? That's a whole video. The Q&A videos are for like quick beam, bam, bam, bam type questions. So I can't do like big, long stretch answers that take a lot of thought. More or less, I would just try to figure out some way of making the Minicon gimmick less intrusive, and focus more on like making the toys more functional, and for getting a lot of the weirdness out of the animation series. A lot of like fixing Armada basically just comes down to making things higher quality than you did. If someone were to buy and send you a 50th anniversary Kamen Rider Vital Brace with all the DIMs, what would you do with it? The Vital Brace is a fitness toy where the more active, the better the device is being on the... I'm not a very fit person. As you can probably tell, I don't really get time to go out and hike or jog or anything like that. If I'm not working the toy shop, I'm here working on videos. If I've got some spare time, I'm playing, games that I rarely have time to play, or, catching up on Kamen Rider if I can. Or I'm working on more videos. That's the thing with being a daily content creator. Free time is a luxury I don't normally get for things like working out, right? I have to figure out how to work out and do other work at the same time. So maybe that's it. Maybe I'll just pump barbells while I watch Kamen Rider Geats. But honestly, I probably wouldn't use the Vital Bracelet. If I'm being completely honest here, I probably wouldn't. Question for your May Q&A is, what is your favorite Marvel character? It's pretty bog standard. I like Spider-Man, though I will say I really don't like how they've been handling Spider-Man recently. I would actually like my heroes to be happy and actually successful for once, and writers are obsessed with giving Peter Parker the short end of the stick in life in literally everything. I hate when they break him and Mary Jane up. I'm one of those who hated Brand New Day. I absolutely hated those. When One More Day happened, I went out and I actually bought I found at a flea market a copy of the Mary Jane and Peter's wedding, signed by the artist. So that was my like revenge purchase for that whole debacle. Yeah, I really do. I really wish Spider-Man would just like let the character be happy. I'm not interested in always miserable, always losing Peter Parker, right? I mean, I don't think it makes him relatable at this point. I just think it makes him sad. I'd really like to see him like win a few times. All right. Are there any concepts or characters from Michael Bay movie series that you think would be interesting to revisit in another series? Well, plenty of them. Like, I love the idea of Barricade. I love the idea of a Decepticon choosing an alt mode that is deceptive and not just like totally military based. The idea of a Decepticon who is emulating and like sneaking around as a police vehicle leads to a lot of interesting espionage attempts. It leads to a lot of spying that can be done by the Decepticons. It works really, really well. It works really well, and I really don't think they got a chance to utilize it very well in the movie. We got a glimpse of what it could do. We need a full thing. We need the whole thing. So yeah, I'd love to see Barricade in an actual series. Let's see. This is more response to the questions. Yeah, so I'm just looking for question marks at this point. So like, I mean, I'm not gonna chastise anyone for leaving comments and answering ideas. It's always fun. I love the discussions that happen in my comments section. I might have to figure out some other way of submitting questions just so this can be a little bit punchier. When or if Hasbro makes a legacy update for both Wing Saber and Cybertron Leobreaker, would it make sense for those two characters to be weaponizers? So, the idea of like what a weaponizer is these days is so muddled. We're basically turning anything into a weaponizer as long as the engineering lets us break the toy apart. I don't think you classify it as a weaponizer because you're not going to make them 100% customizable. You're just going to give them an alt mode that they can transform into with part forming. I don't necessarily think because Wing Saber is far more just traditional as far as breaking apart and becoming armor. It's not like a weaponizer is something that can break apart and become equipment and armor for anyone. And if you're talking like Wing Saber, he's going to be exclusively an Optimus Prime thing. If you're talking about even Leobreaker, you're talking about something that's going to be like done to match Optimus Prime's engineering. I don't think you could make either of them universal in all that they would do. And if you did, you'd kind of take what's special from the combination away. For weaponizers, there's like a modular fun to it where it's all universal. I don't think you get that with like a Wing Saber or a Leobreaker. I think you kind of just leave them as their own Optimus upgrades. How about giving a NASA crawler transport as an Earth-based alt mode to Primus and a War Train turret to Unicron? I'm not a fan of giving the gods of Transformers any Earth modes, to be frank. I think they're just way too big and they're way too menacing to do anything typical with them. Even if they turned into something here on Earth, it wouldn't be something Earth-based. Again, they are characters who have no need to hide, no desire to hide, and really their magnitude would just outweigh anything that they could turn into as far as an Earth vehicle goes. So I don't really think you give a vehicle mode to either. It doesn't seem to suit them. Challenge. You have to erase a TF series you like from existence in order to make one you didn't like better. Which would you sacrifice and for which would you improve? So, what beloved series has to die for one to become greater? So, let's see here. If I'm like peeling my brain through like Transformer series I actually liked, and man, that is a really tough call. That's a really tough call. Part of me would think like if you would do like, because I like Cyberverse. Like I thought Cyberverse was really good. I feel like we could sacrifice Cyberverse and really nothing would be lost from it. Because Cyberverse was just more of a kids line. It just happened to be a really well done kids line. It just kind of did G1 ideas again. It didn't really like add much to like Transformers as a whole. So like, while as much as I like Cyberverse as a show, I don't think it really is that impactful. So like, that's an easy one to answer. Otherwise, we had to go to like Transformers Prime, and I think Prime did too many good things. Honestly, I would like to go back and like improve Beast Machines and do it the way it needed to be done. More show accurate toys that weren't so out there with the designs, a more sensible plot that was better written. Mostly because I would love to see how the course of Transformers changes, because that really is the whole crux of what made Transformers different. It was the failure of Beast Machines that ended the Beast era, scrapped Transtech and anything that may have come after that, because Transtech was going to do some fascinating things, and really like it was the failure of Beast Machines and the temporary status of RID that got Hasbro and Takara talking about working together on toys instead of just doing their own thing, which led to the Unicron Trilogy. So if Beast Machines had actually taken off and been successful, the entirety of Transformer history changes. And I would love to have seen where it would have gone if that had happened. What's your biggest unpopular opinion when it comes to Transformers? Have you seen Plastic Addict? I'm full of them. God, I don't know. Like, I don't know if there's like a particular hot take that I make that's like the unpopular opinion. I'd have to think about that one a little bit harder. God, I'm trying to think of like one offhand. Like, like it's like super unpopular opinions. I mean, I get blowback for just about everything I state. You know, like if I say that I like some of the movie designs coming out, I get blowback on that. If I say I hate diecast, which I do, I get blowback on that. Revenge of the Fallen Demolisher, for whatever reason, that one brought out so many people defending the look of that toy and design. Like, you can like it if you want, but understand my opinion is my opinion, and I still hate that design. I still hate that design. So, like, I don't know if there's a huge opinion I have that's unpopular, but I have them in parts. We talked about Spy Changers. I wouldn't mind seeing them again. Oh. Yeah, yeah, so once upon a time, I did 2 Tobots, and I promised a 3rd video to show their combined mode. I never got around to that because, like, life hit the fan when that came out. I still need to go back and do that. I still need to do that at some point. I still have them. Do you think we're going to get all Skyquake repaints or just a few? We're definitely going to get, we're definitely going to get, Dreadwing. We're definitely going to get his brother. I think we're probably going to get G1 Skyquake from that toy as well. I don't know if we're going to get Machine Wars Starscream. I would love it if we did, but I don't think that one's on the horizon just yet, unless it's like a Selects release. But I do think they're going to get as much use with Hasbro as they are. I think we're going to get as much use out of that mold as they can feasibly or logically excuse. So honestly, I would not be surprised to see those 4. The big one is King Atlas. I don't think King Atlas is actually going to get done. What Energon characters, toys do you think should get an update? I really like a lot of aesthetic in Energon. Prowl is one of the big ones. I always really liked the look of Prowl, and I liked his original toy. So to get that one a little bit more show accurate, not gimmick hampered, I think that would be really, really cool. Yeah, what others? There's some really good engineering work. There's some really good design work. There's a big one right now is Dive Bomb. I think everyone looks at the mainline Rise of the Beast Air Razor and how she works and goes, we need this retooled into Energon Dive Bomb, and I'm absolutely one of those. And the other one would probably be Megatron or Galvatron, because that's such a cool design. I'd love to see that one done again with a little bit more articulation, maybe a little bit more user-friendly in the weight distribution on it. If you could continue the trend of beast convoys, what animal would you choose? So that's the thing. Well, once again, I'd lean toward a griffin because I'm waiting for a griffin, and it does strike me as a leader character. But really, the trend of beast convoys is just following the Japanese continuity. The next one we're going to probably get is Big Convoy, or like whatever they call him. Mammoth Prime is probably the name they're going to go with in America. It's really not so much of like a trend of them as much as it is just, hey, it's time for these Japanese leaders to get an update. Okay, so here we go again with collab possibilities. You mentioned Mega Man. You also mentioned Gundam. With surprising popularity of the Weaponizers, do you think Transformers could create an entire subline with them similar to how Mugenbein operated in the mid-2000s? Yeah, like if they're like that would go very, very well. We talked about that kind of with like what I would do with a line-wide gimmick. A line-wide Weaponizer gimmick would be cool too. Yeah, like and that would definitely be something that I would make like a kid's toy line, right? I would focus that as like the emphasis of the cartoon, where you have this like infinite combination of possibilities with your different Transformer characters. That would be super cool. But yeah. If Slayers had a Transformer crossover, who do you think would fit as the focus aside from Skybite? Would Skybite even fit Slayers? Okay, we're talking about a 90s anime that wasn't a big thing in America, but it's my favorite anime. I don't think Slayers doesn't really work for Transformers though. It's magic, and it's sword and sorcery. It's high fantasy. It's not technological, and there's literally no vehicles they could use. I appreciate you trying to mix a couple of my favorite things together, but man, I really do not know what they would do with it. I have no idea what they would do with it. Would you ever consider writing a sequel to Transformers Prime? Well, we kind of got that. That was RID 2015. The tone was just very different. But maybe something that works, like, that stretches farther from it or kind of stays in line with what Prime did. Yeah, like, that's actually not a bad idea. Like, what if Transformers Prime continued? You know, and you had, like, Optimus is merged with Cybertron now, so he's gone. Starscream is who knows what. Megatron is reformed and does not want the war to continue. You got Bumblebee in charge of the Autobots. How weird would that be? If, like, if a reformed Megatron, who no longer wants conquest, is the one who has to teach Bumblebee what it means to be a leader. And to not only, like, to have Bumblebee not only learn lessons about how to be a leader, but also for Megatron to realize maybe he had the wrong idea. Maybe this is where, like, for Bumblebee to show him where his own leadership tactics don't work. That could actually lead to something cool. I might write that down as a what if. Oh, my fiance and I are both subscribers to your channel, and by the time of your next Q&A session, we'll be married in a day or two. Well, congratulations. Thank you very much for both watching. Yeah, David and Jen, congrats. Hope you have a very happy life together. As a fellow fan of Dungeons & Dragons and Critical Role, are there any D&D TTRPG reviewers or other live play series you enjoy watching on YouTube? So, funny enough, I'm about to be in a live play game. It's actually this Thursday. I'll promote it tomorrow, and I'll probably promote it in the next couple of videos I do. But yeah, it'll be live on Twitch. I'll link it out on Twitter. I'll link it out here on my videos when we get closer. So I will admit I don't watch a whole lot of D&D people on YouTube. I have a friend named Mildred the Monk who does a lot of reviews for TTRPG stuff, and he's really smart about what he talks about. As far as, like, D&D channels, I'm subscribed to Puffin Forest. To subscribe to the videos just come up and I don't even look at the names anymore. So nowadays, all things D&D I watch for the stories. I watch Mr. Ripper for the stories, because I love hearing tabletop stories, basically. More so than reviews. I like in live play. I like hearing, like, crazy D&D stories. Yeah, but I definitely need to watch a few more like personality places. The Fool's Gold. I watched the Fool's Gold series too. Do you prefer the American Marvel or Japanese concept of Headmasters, Target Masters, and Power Masters? So I kind of prefer the Japanese style of doing things, where the individual head just becomes its own little robot that controls the robot itself. I think that leads to a lot more interesting possibilities of, like, body switching or upgrade bodies while retaining the same head. I don't like the Nebulon combining thing, because there's something weird about a Transformer permanently bonding to an organic creature whose lifespan is going to be like a blink of an eye compared to a Transformer's. That always felt weird to me. And I never really was sold on, like, the idea that binary bonding to a Transformer somehow improved how the Transformer works compared to like a super advanced computer brain. Yeah, I definitely like the Japanese style the best. Who's your favorite turtle? Oh, we're talking real turtles. We're talking about real turtles. Leatherback, alligator snapping turtle. I do really like alligator snapping turtles. They look like living dinosaurs. They are awesome. Beyond that, I kind of have a soft spot for gopher turtles, because once in a while I'll find them around. There used to be one that lived on the corner of our house, so that was always fun to see him poking out of his burrow. But yeah, I tend to just like I like just about any Terrapin, if we're being honest. If you could choose 5 Beast Wars toys to remake in Legacy, which ones would they be? Air Razor, Torka, Power Pinch, Transketo, and Magmatron. You have some interesting choices here. Torka's definitely in my list. Razor Beast too, because I still really like the old comic series that he was in. If we're talking about personal ones, I'd love for Snapper. We're talking Turtles again. I'd love for Snapper to get a deluxe class that had a lot more transformation, turn into like a Scold remold for the IDW Beast Wars series. If we're talking about personal ones, I have a soft spot for Airhammer. I'd really like to see Airhammer redone. I'm looking like, oh, obviously Manterror. Give me like a Voyager class Manterror for no other reason than I want a big transforming Mantis toy. How would you rank the Transformer shows, at least top 5 or 10? Didn't I do like a ranking list for Transformer cartoons? I mean, Beast Wars is at the top. Animated is probably very close behind it. Earthspark's really creeping up the list fast. Yeah, I think I did that already. It's another, like, one of those where I'd really have to think about that. How do you feel about King Oger's mech designs? Overall, it looks cool, but I don't like how many little parts it takes to make the Megazord. I kind of like more solid designs when it comes to Megazords. Same reason I wasn't completely into the Go Busters designs, because it just felt like there's just too many little parts scattered about the Megazord. So it's cool, and I'm glad the Megazords are so articulated and functional now, but too many little things, I think, is my issue there. Top 3 or 5 versions of Optimus Prime, character design-wise, all of it, from shows only, so we're not even talking about toys. Okay, well, there's, again, like an up-in-the-air question. Yeah, that's another one where I'd have to think about it a lot. I'm trying to think of, like, my absolute favorite my favorite Prime is still the G1, because I felt like it's the most heroic out of all the Optimus Primes. Everyone else is very either too stoic and loses like the heart the original Optimus Prime had, or too movie-based and warlike. So that put me off. In a weird way, Cyberverse had a much more like down-to-earth Optimus Prime that I actually enjoyed more than even like Transformers Prime's depiction. So yeah, you're looking at like G1 Prime, Animated Prime would be up there. I'd really have to think about the other ones to figure out where the rest fall. Let's see, what else do we have here? If we had the ability to add an extra ranger into Super Sentai Power Rangers, what season would you choose? I was a Titanus fan, so I was always upset that there was no Mighty Morphin White or Gold to represent Titanus. So I'd love to see that thrown in. Transformers Sonic crossover. I don't know how you do that unless you turn Sonic into like his car from like the race games. I don't know. That's another one. Like when you try to come up with like ideas for crossovers with Transformers and collaboratives, the big thing is they need vehicles. Like you can't, like it's hard to turn a licensed character into some kind of car or jet or whatever that is going to like resonate. It's got to have some kind of beast or vehicle mode that you can turn into a robot. And the beast or vehicle is the part that needs to be iconic of the series in order for the crossover to work. So something like Sonic, where like literally your most iconic thing is Eggman's little hover bubble thing. Yeah, it's for the same reason Mega Man wouldn't work. You know, there's just not enough vehicle presence. See, Wow, this is really long. This is a lot. Go do for Transformers. I do not understand why you don't get more views per video based on your content. That's the algorithm. That is YouTube's algorithm doing it to me. So the truth is, like, because I took so many long hiatuses for so many times, YouTube's basically forgotten about me, and I've had to rebuild myself to YouTube ever since. And breaking back into the algorithm now is nearly impossible compared to even like a few years ago. So the daily content is just my way of like pushing through it and just trying to get it out there again. It also doesn't help that I don't promote my stuff the way I should. I need to run ads for my own channel on YouTube, and I need to present better. That's just, you know, there's some failings from me, but a lot of it is just literally just fighting YouTube's system. You can make your own Autobot team. Who would it be? That's another like lengthy, like I can't do that here in a Q&A setting. Transformers Resident Evil crossover, collaborative would be a good idea. Again, this is another series that really doesn't have a vehicle to work with, so like a crossover, a collaborative figure is just not going to work. You're not going to make it happen. As far as a crossover goes, we had Transformers dealing with zombies, and it always felt like super one-sided. There's no reason a Transformer has to fear the T-virus. It just starts stepping on zombies. That's pretty much it. Do you prefer generations being one-for-one remakes of characters a la War for Cybertron Trilogy, or do you prefer it to be reimagined designs a la Classic? I think both are good if you go back and forth between them. So, like, I don't mind you doing, like, full-on remakes of these characters like we're doing for since Siege, to where it just looks like the G1 but modern. I mean, I think that has a place, but also, I do like when you do something different. I do like when you reimagine them as well. So I think it is a going back and forth to do like, here's a new take on Optimus Prime that isn't quite G1, but it's still familiar for the fans who are looking for something fresh and new. And then years down the line, you go, okay, here's another G1 Optimus Prime. So I prefer both. I think it's a balancing act between the two that keeps it fresh. Star Trek Transformer crossover figure for the Enterprise D. See? Iconic vehicle. Size class, at least leader. You're talking about a starship. That thing is gigantic. So at the very least leader class, maybe commander class, because it is Star Trek. You could absolutely get away with selling a giant Star Trek toy. The trick is, how do you make it even transform and like not fall apart? Because like the nacelles and the center section is so thin compared to like the saucer, that would get tough. Do you think Transformers will end someday? I mean, most likely. It can't go on forever, much as we all like to. Eventually, it just might not be marketable anymore. Audiences might be exhausted. The nostalgia crowd might move on. That's always a possibility. But it's got a lot of legs, a lot more than most toy lines. Legacy Insecticons and Junkions so far, they've been pretty damn good. Good enough that I let a profanity slip in. I apologize. No. Legacy Insecticons and Junkions are all really solid so far. I'm looking forward to Bombshell. I think he's going to be the best one of them. Buzzworthy Hound will ever be released. It's in the listings. It'll come out eventually. If Hasbro goes under, could third parties keep up at a reasonable price? Third parties already not at a reasonable price. New Age wants like $80, $90 for toys that are like 3-4 inches tall. Third party already doesn't have a reasonable price, especially if you're talking about the quantity of characters you would need to make up for the loss of Hasbro. So no, absolutely not. Favorite Transformers character that is not a Transformer and or a human? That's that's interesting. In that sense, I always love the Quintessons. I love this idea that they are threats to Transformers so far beyond what a Decepticon could be because they were the creators or because they are this overwhelming force like they were in Cyberverse. Quintessons are always fun to work with. So I would love to see them worked into fiction more often. When we get more Transmetals in Transformers Legacy. The issue for them, Hasbro stated, is always how to handle the chrome, because they find it iconic of the Transmetals, but they also know fans don't like chrome because of it scraping, chipping, and flaking so easily. So that's a thing. I would love to do it because I'd love to see it because I love the Transmetal designs, and I'd love for them to go in that direction. It's just Hasbro, for whatever reason, just won't say, just make it metallic paint. Because I think even at that level, metallic paint is just too expensive to cover that much of the toy with. Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, you sent me the Machine War Soundwave. Oh, thank you, Ravage. Don't know what your Patreon name is now. Yeah, but still, thank you very much. I still have that Machine War Soundwave. I try not to get rid of anything that gets sent to me. You wanted it done for Plastic Addict. I'm like, no, for its era, this is fine. This is a neat little toy. So I'm sorry I never made it to Plastic Addict. I might dig it out and see see if I can do anything with it now. What's your opinion of TF Nation's Autobot Snake Rails? I haven't seen TF Nation's Autobot Snake, so that one I don't have familiarity with. Are you planning on doing another video pitching more ideas for a BotCon theme? I haven't done that in a hot minute. I could probably do that. There's still plenty more ideas that I never got to share back in the day. Let's see. Do you have any ideas for an original Beast Wars Transformer unrelated to G1? Not a turtle, please. Why not a turtle? Why not a turtle? We've mentioned it a few times. I want them to go mythic. I would love a whole Beast Wars subline that's all mythical creatures. Phoenix, Griffins, dragons. Well, we have one dragon, but there's lots of types of dragons out there. Like a Chinese dragon would be super cool too. Mythological animals, I think, is a huge untapped Beast Wars direction. Let's see. Can I picture a Star Wars Transformers crossover figure that transforms similarly into Magmatron? If you could somehow work like like an AT-AT that breaks apart into different vehicles, like a crawler vehicle and two like AT-STs, maybe. But that's a hard stretch. What do you think of new Astrobots comic series from One Not Publishing? Simon Furman's a writer. Haven't looked into it. Simon Furman, like, great writer back in the day, but he's got some failings to him that has kind of put me off from following the guy. So I don't know what he's up to these days. Do you think Cybertron's Cyberblast and other Shellformers get reimagined so they aren't Shellformers, or keep it if they got new updated toys? Absolutely reimagined. If you can get rid of the shell, great. I'd love to see her, like, like Thunderblast is basically designed as anime eye candy, as discussed before. So to redesign her, I think is pretty necessary if we're gonna get her back out in the stores. Hasbro should do Transformer characters from Transformers Kiss Players and Legacy. No. We now know which Transformers Robot Masters, but what about Mavericks? The Top Gun Transformer? I don't follow that one. What are my thoughts on Splatoon 3? So, I do love Splatoon. I'm not a fan of the tricolor Splatfests. That one gets on my nerves. Because I don't like it. It just feels... I know the idea is, like, to make it one-sided, but it just feels too one-sided. I'm not really a fan of how that works. I'd rather just leave, like, one team versus one team, rather than forcing it to be, like, a 3-team gimmick. Would you consider Maverick Plastic Addict worthy? I never owned the toy, so I have no idea. Sometimes you appear to be so mean on Twitter to some well-intentioned followers. Why is that? I try not to be. If I come across that way, I apologize. I try not to be mean whatsoever. So if that's your impression, I'm sorry, but I try to be very personable on Twitter if I can. If you come at me like a jerk, I'm gonna treat you like a jerk, but that's on you at that point. But no, I just try to be nice to everybody if I can. What would you like to see for a TMNT anniversary special? I like the anniversary specials they did, where they brought the old cartoon team into the new team. I think that worked really, really well. Which iteration of Mikey is your favorite? And you say 2012. I would say the 2000s too. Was it the 2002 series? I can't remember what year it came out. But I love the idea that Michelangelo, and that's the show that really pushed the idea that Michelangelo is the most talented of all 4 turtles, because he's the slacker, he's the goof off, but in a fight, he is just as skilled as his brothers. Meaning if he applied himself, which is where The Last Ronin and other stories come from, he could easily be the best turtle. And when you got to things like the Nexus of Champions arc in that one, you actually got to see Mikey go serious mode. Then you actually got to see where Michelangelo is the best turtle. I love that he can go from goofball to Terminator. That's cool. I like that I like the extra design. I like the extra layer to that. Favorite G1 toy? Probably Power Master Prime. It was my Prime as a kid, so that's the one I have a lot of more fond memories of. Do you think there will ever be a female primary and or secondary rider in Kamen Rider? I mean, we get that these days. Neon's been doing really good as Nago in the current ones. I think we're getting in that direction. But as a primary, no. We're never going to see that. Japan's culture is just not the same for that. How radical can you change Transformers before it's unrecognizable anymore? Go watch Beast Machines. Have you seen the new third-party Transmetal 2 Black Arachnia? I have seen it's very problematic and fragile, and takes a lot. You basically have a big shell for a beast mode. I do actually have, I've got Rat Trap right here on my desk. I actually do go for those third-party Transmetals because I love the Transmetal design so much. I love them better when their stands don't fall apart when I pick them up. But as far as the Transmetal 2 Black Arachnia, I'm not getting it. It just seems like things went wrong in that one. Are we eventually going to hit a breaking point where Transformers become too expensive to produce for retail? At some point, Hasbro is just going to make them cheaper and cheaper. So they're going to find out that there is a cap to the price fans are willing to pay, kids are willing to pay, and then they're just going to dial it back. So yeah, I mean, that's just capitalism, unfortunately. Eventually you're going to see it. Eventually you're going to see it. Do you think Earthspark Jawbreaker will be a hyena like the Beast Wars namesake, or do you expect him to be a name dump that has nothing to do with Jawbreaker? I expect him to be nothing like Jawbreaker. I mean, it's spoiler, but his alt mode is known now. I think the choice went well, but I don't think a hyena would have suited the big bruiser that he is. Steven Universe Transformers Collaborative. Vehicles, like in like very well-known vehicles, not just the thing that appeared in the show and isn't really like that special. I mean, obviously you could pull ideas. And yeah, the lion from Steven Universe might work. But there's rumor that we're getting like potential Rock Lords. Like that's somewhere in the rumor mill right now. Maybe that could be just gemstones, I guess. Beast Wars Combiners or some... What are your opinion on the Japanese Beast Wars? What is your opinion on the Beast Wars Combiners? Some are just so strange. Also, Japanese Beast Wars is fine. I think it relies too much on shell forming for the toys to be interesting. As far as Beast Wars Combiners, like Magnaboss is fine. It's, I think using bugs for Tripredacus just makes it makes him just like, there's just too many like little legs hanging off everywhere. I would have preferred that to be like dinosaurs or something. Favorite Gao Gaigar character? It probably is Guy. Like, it probably is just the lead character. It's a stock answer, but probably that. How would a Transformers line where it's handful of characters in different... How would a Transformer line where it's a handful of characters in different alto mode? Yes. I would generally prefer them to do more like switch up alt modes, because I think that has led to some really cool choices, like a lot of sound waves. I think that's the question. Favorite things about the Unicron Trilogy? The willingness to do different things and new characters, because we're getting very little of that these days. One reason why I like Earthspark so much. Have you seen the Transformers Combaticons fan projects Combaticons? Honestly, I've seen so many third-party Combaticons, you could put any team in front of me and tell me it's third-party, and I believe you. Like, it's one of those where it's just like, I really don't care about third-party combiners, because there's so many of them at this point, I can't keep track. I don't know what makes one different from another, and personally, I really don't care. I mean, it's just overdone at this point. Preferred Transformers origin story, Quintesson. We kind of touched on that earlier. Will you play Transformers Rise of the Dark Spark? Probably not Dark Spark, because it's very hard to get a system to work and plugged in to actually plays that. I think I have a copy somewhere, because I had some idea for that and it didn't play off. What's a toy line that's ruined by quality control being off? Masterpiece. We touched on that earlier in this video too. Masterpiece is a mess right now thanks to quality control being a mess. What's the coolest weapon? God, it's hard to beat Megatron's cannon, isn't it? Yeah. Just strap the biggest cannon to your arm and blast away. I think that worked. Q&A, speaking about anime, do you like One Piece? By the time One Piece caught my interest, it was way too long for me to get into. I look in on it here and there just to see what's going on and how close it is to the end. Which doesn't seem like it's going to be there for a long time. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot. There's a lot there. Truck or Monkey? Both. I'd have no preference. It depends on the story. It depends on the character. And what is a prototype you're glad stayed a prototype? A toy we know was happening, got canceled, and you're glad about it. Some of that would come down to, like, some of the canceled RCs in G1 because they seemed like they'd be pretty bad and wouldn't represent the character well, and it would, like, force what we could do with RC now. Like, maybe, like, that wouldn't be the worst thing, but, like, at one time, RC was going to be, like, this pink and orange thing, and I don't think that would have worked very well. That would have looked pretty bad. So I could definitely see RC as one, like, that got canceled. That was good. They canceled a redeco of Thrilling 30, or a War for Cybertron or Fall of Cybertron Grimlock into Transmetal Megatron. That thing would have looked hideous. I'm kind of glad they didn't go all the way with that one. For the most part, I'm upset anytime a prototype doesn't make it, because I think, any Transformer should be given a shot. But there are a few where it's like, that would have been a bad idea. So that's probably for the best. All right, so this is a very long Q&A because I decided to answer literally every question that I could in this video. So if you made it all the way through the end, thank you very much for listening through a very long video. Yeah, and as always, if you have a question for the next Q&A video, please leave it in the comments of this video. Remember, try to keep it short. Try to keep it to something that's like punchy and I don't have to like sit and think about for a long time. Try to make it one question per person. Just try to be mindful that we have to make a whole video out of this and I have to get in as many as possible. So, just be mindful of everyone else and let everyone else have a turn. But thank you guys for watching through a very long video. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I hope you got your question answered satisfactorily. And I'll see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.